Everyone say snake. Who agrees? Yeah, everybody's agreeing she's a snake. Anybody know what kind of snake?
Python.
A python. Nice.
Black.
Yes, so she is a python. More specifically, she is a black-headed python. Comes all the way from over in Australia. So this is a really amazing species from Australia. Who knows some things about Australia? Anybody ever been there? Anyone from there? Yeah? So Australia is the land of scary things, right? Have you guys ever heard that?
Yeah.
If you look up Australia meme, the first thing that comes up is going to be a big scary lizard, right? So they've got lots of big scary animals. They have lots of venomous animals out there, lots of really scary creatures. Well, our friend Morgan here is not one of those scary creatures, even though she kind of maybe looks a little scary. Sometimes people are a little afraid of her because she's kind of big, right? But people in Australia see these snakes and they say, oh, thank goodness, my watchdog is here. And the reason is because there are a couple of snakes out in Australia that are some of the most venomous snakes on the planet. That's the taipan and the western brown. And so people are trying to stay away from those snakes, right? They're very, very, very venomous and very dangerous to have around. Well, this beautiful lady here actually eats those snakes. So she is immune to their venom, and she predates on those snakes, which makes her a wonderful animal to have around to kind of keep you safe. She's doing some exploring. One of the things, before we get too far into this program, I have to tell you why I love this animal so much. Because we start to get to know our animals, our individual personalities. And this snake, more than any other snake I have ever worked with, and I am a big fan of snakes, I've worked with many of them, but she is just so curious. She's always looking around, she's always exploring, she loves to try exploring new things. Now this animal she actually lives on the ground most of the time. Typically this species actually lives underground. You guys want to know the big word for that? I love big words, so I'm going to tell you. It's called fossorial. That's an animal that lives underground. Where do we find fossils? Underground. So it's an easy one to remember. Fossorial species are species that like to live in burrows underground, and Morgan is no exception. In fact, she's a really good digger. But you might have noticed that Jane, when she brought her out, she put her up on this tree structure right here, right? So she is what we call a constrictor species. So instead of a venomous species, she's a constrictor. So she's got lots of really strong muscles. And Morgan has told us her entire life, I may be an underground species, but I love to see what's up there. And she loves to climb. So she's always climbing around. In fact, she's gotten herself into some trouble every once in a while. So we got to watch her, make sure she's not climbing things she can't get off of. But she does love to climb. And I love that about her. She has such a really wonderful personality. All right, let's get back to natural history because they're a pretty incredible species. So you might have noticed as she's moving around here, she's got these beautiful tiger stripes all down her body. And she's got that beautiful black head, right? That's where the name black-headed python comes from. Now that black head isn't just a fashion accessory. It actually serves a really important purpose. So just a couple of minutes ago, I told you guys that she is an underground species, right? Who knows some things about snakes and reptiles? What's the one thing that kind of sets them apart from us besides the whole scaly thing? Any guesses? So we as mammals, we are endothermic. Now that's just a fancy term for we create our own heat energy, right? This species is ecto, means she has to get that heat energy from an outside source. She doesn't create it for herself. And the way that they usually get that is from the sun, right? You've probably seen lizards and snakes out laying in the sun, basking, right, enjoying time. Now, if she is an underground snake, and here I'm going to throw another one at you, guess what else? She's nocturnal, right? Where is she getting that heat energy from? The moon? Oh, I like that guess.
She's solar powered.
Solar power? Any other guesses? The ground is a good guess. So one of the things about living underground, it's a lot more temperature stable, right? So that's number one, going to be a really wonderful thing for her. But that black head comes in handy, and my friend up here gave us a little bit of a clue saying that she used solar power. So what she's going to do is she gets too cold underground, she's only gonna stick out just that head. Have you guys ever worn like a black t-shirt out on a hot day? And that black, it kind of soaks up all of that heat energy, right? And it gets really, really hot. Well, that's really going to be handy for her because it means that she can warm up her body really quickly without even having to come out of her home very far. So really, really important there.
Super cool.
Really cool animal. Now, we were talking earlier about some of the animals that she eats. Not only is she going to predate on those venomous snakes, but she also actually eats those big lizards. So she's a really handy animal to have around to keep you kind of safe. Also, you can kind of think about that as far as how she's evolved to be a nocturnal snake. That'd be kind of handy, right? If you're eating other ectothermic animals, they're going to be slower at night, right? So you've just made your life a lot easier. She's going to be able to prey a lot easier on those animals when they're a little bit slower at night. She's out here showing off all of her amazing skills.
How old is she?
What'd you say?
How old is she?
Oh, so my friend asked me, how old is she? I always forget to add. I think she's like 10. She's 11. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, she's 11 years old, but she can live up to be in her 30s probably.
Wow.
So she's still pretty young. She's a healthy snake too. She gets lots of good exercise. Yeah. What's your question?
Are there endangered species?
Are there endangered species? This particular species? She's actually pretty stable out in the wild. So that's really wonderful to hear. She lives in Australia alongside a lot of endangered species though. So that's a really wonderful thing to be thinking about and how we can kind of protect those species out there. I'm really happy to report that Australia has a lot of protections because they're very proud of their wildlife, right? Us too. So they have a lot of protections that are in place to kind of keep these guys safe. We also have some programs out in the wild in Australia that we are helping with. And one of those programs covers this species space out in the wild. So we're kind of helping her just by coming through the door here. You guys are helping her. So good job, guys. Way to be heroes for wildlife.
Is there an...
She's currently trying to see if she can burrow into the stage. Who thinks she's going to make it? Do I have any more questions about my friend Morgan here? Yeah, go ahead.
You said they're a good digger, so they make their own burrow, or they might borrow like a wombat burrow or something?
Yeah, so he's asking if they're making their own burrows or if they're borrowing burrows. They will opportunistically use burrows that are already created. We do out in Australia, that we have wombats. We have all sorts of other fossorial animals that like to live underground. However, they're really good diggers. And I can tell you guys, the first time I saw this behavior, I just about jumped out of my skin. I was so excited to see it. Because like I said, she has told us her entire life that she doesn't want to dig. She wants to live up in the trees, right? And so the day that she finally learned to dig as she should, was a really exciting thing. So what they do basically, they're going to use their head a little bit like a shovel. And so what they do is they kind of throw the dirt out of the way with their head there. It's very cool to see. Unfortunately, she has not. We have not gotten that behavior on cue, so we haven't trained it yet. Unfortunately, we can't show you.
Is she about 6 or 7 feet long?
Yeah, so she is about 80 inches. Do you guys know why we measure snakes in inches?
Because they don't have feet?
Because they don't have any feet. You're supposed to say no, Anita. Why? You ruined my punchline.
Oh, but you were looking for an answer, I thought.
They don't have any feet. That's just my joke, my dad joke. No, so yeah, she's about 8 feet long. So the females of this species are considerably larger than the males. You might be able to guess why that is. So although reptiles typically do not care for their young once they're born, this species actually sits on their eggs. They actually incubate their eggs to keep them nice and warm, and that's a pretty unique thing for snakes. A lot of times they just lay their eggs and go do their snaky things. But no, she would stay with her eggs, so in order to keep those eggs nice and warm, she needs that big old body. And that big body to help her make all those eggs.
Is there an SSP for these guys?
So my friend up here is asking me about the SSP. They do have an SSP for black-headed pythons, but our black-headed python is not part of that program. She actually came from a private facility. So.
Okay.
Alrighty, you guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with Morgan. We might, Jane might hang out with Morgan just for a minute longer. I'm going to go ahead and go off mic, but if you guys have any last minute questions, feel free to come on up, or if you're just still walking up with us, come join in before she takes off here. But I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for coming to the zoo and supporting us and helping with that program that's helping this wildlife. We really couldn't do it without you, so thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
What's your
That's
question?
Morgan, black-headed python.
That's a really good question. I think around